Now, that's a big jump from, I mean, a W-2. I mean, a lot of our listeners are in that W-2 grind and are looking for ways to get out of the rat race. Uh, Oftentimes people do something slowly where maybe they're getting into real estate, but buying a business is a great opportunity. I'm curious how, like, what made you open to get a business? Did you have business experience before, or were family members or parents entrepreneurs, or how did you get to this point?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. It's a little funny because I've been a W-2 my whole life. My parents have been W-2s their whole lives. My brother-in-law had a business, but like it didn't really affect me, I guess, that
Mhm.
much. I just also knew working as a nurse, I knew exactly how much I would be making for the next 20 years. Like when you're an employee, especially in healthcare, you kind of know how much you're going to make. You're going to get those little raises every year. And so I just saw this cap on what my life would be like working as a nurse forever. And I also worked with a lot of nurses that were my parents' age, like older women. And I
Mhm.
just looked at them and thought, I cannot still be doing this when I'm their age. But I also didn't want to go to school to get more education either. I didn't want to be a nurse practitioner. I didn't want to be a nurse anesthetist. So I
Yeah.
knew my really only route out of healthcare was owning some sort of business. And I guess I had looked at real estate, but owning real estate is a very slow burn, right? Like when you get into real estate, it's more like long term where I wanted to supplement my income. And so really owning a business was the only avenue in doing that. But I continued to work as a nurse for 3 more years
Yeah.
after owning my laundromat. So I did do it slow as a just in case. Like I'm definitely a conservative entrepreneur. I'm not that entrepreneur that just jumps in and just
Oh,
hopes
yeah.
that it works. I definitely did it very conservative before I actually quit.
What was it about the laundromat? You said you saw the ad in there. What was it about it that caught your attention and gave you the confidence to move forward?
Yeah, well, I had actually never walked into a laundromat before until I had walked into this laundromat that I bought.
Really? Hmm.
Uh-huh. And so when I walked in, I just had this feeling of just like, I think I can do this. Like a laundromat is a very simple business. Like, and I'm not saying it's easy. It's just the business to run it is simple. It's money in, money out. It wasn't very complicated. And so for me, having no business experience, I just felt like this was something I could do and do it well. Especially when I walked into this laundromat, it was also very run down. It needed a lot of work, like cosmetically. And I had just finished flipping a home. Like I had just
Ooh,
bought and flipped a
wow.
home. And so I just went into this going, oh, I could do this again, but laundromat. Like how fun and exciting would this be? And so I saw it as a very good opportunity and something exciting. And I don't know. I just remember walking around that first time in that laundromat going, I can do this. And it felt really good because it is a good business to get into because it's a simple business. As long as you do the basics, a laundromat can do very well.
I anticipate that you probably bought it and then money just started flowing in,
Oh,
right? You were
yeah,
just
like
right.
no stress.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. That's what I imagine, but the reality is different. What were maybe some of the struggles that you saw early on that you had to overcome? Was it
Mhm.
fixing it up? What else was there?
There was probably like two things that were really hard for me to like learn as a business owner. The first one was figuring out what my ROI was on investing back into the business. Like, if I were to replace this flooring, will it get me more customers in? If
Mm,
I redo this, will
mm.
I get more money? Will I get money back on it? Like, I had a hard time figuring out what was my ROI in upgrading my laundromat was hard for me to figure out. With like a house, it's different. It's like, yeah, you renovate the kitchen and bathrooms and the value goes up. But what is that in laundromats, right? And so learning that kind of took me a little bit. And also, I had no one to talk to about
Mm.
laundromats. I knew no one in my life. I knew one person very distant that I would talk to, but I didn't know him well to call him regularly. And so I really lived on Facebook forums, really, and asking other laundromat owners questions. But really, I kind of felt like I was running solo for a very long time in learning to run this business. Like my family didn't help me, and not that they, or anything. It was just this was my business, so this was my thing. I didn't rely on anybody, so it was learning how to teach myself and just hoping it works out. And luckily, it did.
Yeah.
Now, Cami, I gotta imagine. I just will go on the assumption, like Cameron, when you went and told your parents and your brothers and family, "Hey, I'm gonna buy a laundromat," I'm sure they were very supportive as well. Or
Yeah,
were they
I
like,
think
"You're
so.
crazy"?
Yeah, I mean, probably both. Probably both. I mean, I think they were very supportive when I told them, but I don't know what they were saying behind the scenes, of course. But I also kind of had like a little bit of a track record of doing well in the projects I had taken on. But the laundromat was like my biggest one. So it was, I'm sure they were questioning it a little bit, but nothing was ever voiced to me. Which is probably a good thing because, making this huge risk of a move, like to buy this laundromat, like that's a life changer. And so luckily no one doubted me because I think their support only helped me. So I was lucky that way.
You want to see the entire episode? Click here. If you want to learn how investors use infinite banking to increase their returns and lower their taxes, click here. If you want to see if infinite banking is for you and you have some questions, hop on a discovery call with us and one of our coaches. The link for that will be in the description.